Hey guys, you Tomorrow Nerd here. Alright, now here I am continuing on with my Christmas reviews. And now, here I am with a review for the 2018 Grinch movie. So, it's like several years ago, I did review the previous two Grinch film adaptations. And I really do like both of these versions of the Grinch. I really do love these ones really a lot. I really do like watch like these two versions like pretty much like every year around Christmas time. I really do love them. Yeah, yeah, and when I did hear about like this one being made, I did like was kind of curious to see it. I mean, you may remember like if you've been subscribing to me for the last couple of years, I did say that like this was like one of the 10 in films being released in 2018 that I was looking forward to, and it was one that I really did want to see. Yeah, and then when I watched the trailers for this movie, it seemed like this version was going to be like very different from the previous two, and I would just like really wasn't sure like well this was really going to follow the original book. So I was like kind of like wondering how this one really was going to turn out based on the trailers. When this film was released a couple of years ago, I did actually go to see it in theater, and yeah, I liked it. I mean, yeah, this one did kind of like receive like a very mixed reception to it. Yeah, this is kind of like in the same boat of like the previous one, like the live action one with Jim Carrey. How yeah, people really did like were kind of mixed on it. Some people loved it, some people hated it. So yeah, it really is kind of like split right down the middle for this. So not everybody liked it, but overall, I did. I liked it. I mean, I did enjoy watching it. I mean, this kind of this was like interesting because in this film they kind of like took like the previous two and kind of like found like a mix in between where like how the like the original animated Grinch. This one, it really it really wasn't like all that silly and goofy. Like it was pretty much like the straightforward story of the Grinch. Like it was basically like telling the story like from the original book. It was basically just stuck right to the story of the original book. Yeah, and then with this one was really like it added more to it to like fill in the time to make it like feature length. And while it did like stick to overall the original story, they did like add a lot to it to really like fill in the time to really make it feature length. And yeah, and it was kind of like had like it had like a lot more like goofiness and comedy to it, particularly from the Grinch himself. So yeah, but this one really was able to kind of like find a balance between both. How it could really like take it like kind of like really like not as goofy as the uh, Jim Carrey one, but yeah, still really like not just be like straightforward and not really just like really as serious as the original one was. So yeah, this one kind of seemed like an even balance between them. Now, yeah, for like the humor that the film does have, it really does kind of like it does kind of like have some juvenile, immature humor to it, and I really feel that this is really like the one that really be would be like most like kid oriented. I guess you could make the argument that like really all three versions are like really like geared to like the younger audience, but I mean adults can still like get enjoyment really like really haven't heard any like sort of negativity on like the original animated Grinch. And but yeah, then there hasn't been like criticisms for the live action one. But yeah, regardless, yeah, I mean, it really does like have some stuff that like can like have some like adults can enjoy from it. Even like the uh, live action one, it does like have its fair share of adult jokes in it. Yeah. But with this one, I really do feel that this is the one that really is like has the one that really is like would get like a lot more like of the juvenile, immature, like childish humor out of it. So yeah. So yeah, I really do feel that this is probably like the one that really would be like most geared to like the younger demographic and stuff. But overall, I mean, I still did like this one overall. I mean, yeah, while it really does like kind of like do the same thing that the live action one does, how it really does like add in a whole lot of other stuff that wasn't from like the original book into this one. I mean, it's still overall it does still stick to like the main in story with like the Grinch really like really like not really wanting to be with the Who's, and like he like doesn't want there to be Christmas, and he tries to steal it. So it does like stick overall to the same in formula that the original story does. It just really does add in like a lot of like new stuff of like the live action one did. And so yeah, but it is still overall it is watchable. It's like if you're just like from like I can't really say like this is really something that really like if you're just an adult we recommend it to, but yeah, if you have kids and you want and you're just wanting to like show them something kind of different, kind of like similar to what I was talking about with Annabelle's Wish. If you're just wanting to like watch something like really like as a family, I would say that this really wouldn't be like that bad to really put on. So yeah, so really just overall I would say that out of like the three film adaptations, this one is probably the worst of the three, but overall I still did like it. Yeah, I mean, yeah. In this movie, like you have like a cast like you have Benedict Cumberbatch as the Grinch, you have people like Rashida Jones, Keenan Thompson, Angela Lansbury, he he and yeah, you also do have like a Frank Welker providing like the vocal effects for Max in this film. And yeah, and you also do have like some additional cast members providing additional voices in this film, like Jess Harnell, Lorraine Newman, Mindy Sterling, Jim Ward. Or so yeah, so you do have like some other like names like that, like providing the voices in this film as well. And I do think that they're overall they are fine. I mean, I think Benedict Cumberbatch, I think he's like pretty good as the Grinch. I mean, it's not really like a Boris Karloff, how he really is just like kind of like trying to sound like kind of like sound kind of like intimidating and mean, like kind of like how like the Grinch did sound in the original but it's really not like doesn't really sound as silly and goofy as like Jim Carrey's Grinch voice. Yeah, he kind of like does find a balance of like having like kind of just a normal like tone of a voice in this film. Yeah, but yeah, he still is able to like bring some like comedy to it as well. So yeah, so I do think that Benedict Cumberbatch he does pretty good as the Grinch in this film. Yeah. So yeah, so for this review, this really I'm not really like gonna like go through like the straight premise of the film because I mean it basically is like the same premise that the original two is. Like I said, it does overall still tell like the same like the it does like still tell like the story from the original book. So yeah, then that's pretty much what I already did cover when I did review like the first two adaptations several years ago. Yeah. So really, like for this review, what it's really going to be, I'm really just going to talk about really like what this film does do differently from the other two versions. So that's pretty much like what this is gonna, what I'm really gonna like be sticking to in this review. So yeah, all right. So yeah, because yeah, this film it does have like quite a few differences from the live action one, and yeah, and even like does like even like do some things that were like different from like the original little animated Grinch as well. So yeah, let me just go over like some of the differences that this film does have. Yeah, for one thing, like uh uh in this film, like Cindy Lou Who's family, it is different than like the family that she did have in the previous version in the live action one. Like in the live action one, of course, like in that film, her family consisted of like her two parents, and she had two older brothers. In this version, Cindy Lou Who's family, like she has yeah, she has like a mother that is like very overworked and really just like taking care of the kids. Yeah, and yeah, and her father just it's not a, he's not around in this film. Like yeah, Cindy's father is in this film at all. I'm not sure if like he's dead or where he is, but yeah, in this film like it's just Cindy his mother, and yeah, and her siblings in this film, rather than having like two older brothers like she did in the Jim Carrey version, in this one, like her siblings are like two uh, infant twins, Buster and Bean. Yeah, and yeah, so yeah, Cindy's whose family is different. Yeah, and in this film, like when in a in this film, like Cindy's mother's name is Donna rather than Betty, like in the Jim Carrey film. Yeah, yeah, and then yeah, and in this film, like when Cindy tries to send a letter to Santa Claus to help her mother, but then when she like has an encounter with the Grinch, and she's telling. And he tells her that she'll have to talk to Santa face to face about her problems. She like took it literally, and then like Cindy came up with a plot with like some of her friends to actually like capture Santa on Christmas Eve to tell him about like the situation with her mother. Yeah, so that's kind of yeah, that is like interesting that like Cindy Lou Who's personality is just like pretty different from how it was her personality was in like the previous one. And yeah, and even like in the original animated one, like we really didn't see that much of her. Like the original one, it really did stick to like how she was in the book, how which the narrator does say like in the original one that Cindy was no more than two. Yeah, and we really didn't see much of her in the in the original animated one. Yeah, and yeah, and this film like it is like similar to like the Jim Carrey one where like Cindy's age is different. Like in the Jim Carrey one, Cindy was probably like around 6 or 7 years old, and that's kind of like the age range that she is in this film as well. Yeah, yeah, and it also seems like this film just also it has just seems to have like a bunch of different like pop cultural Christmas references in this film. Like they like play like a whole bunch of like different Christmas songs throughout the film. Like at one point, like it shows like the Grinch's alarm clock is just like filled with a bunch of like different Christmas songs like Feliz Navidad and just some of the other famous Christmas songs like "Run Rudolph Run" and "Jingle Bells" and Silent Night, and yeah, a whole bunch of other ones. Yeah, and this film it also does like also include the famous like songs from like the previous adaptations, like "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch," and also like the Welcome Christmas song that the Who sing. Yeah, though, yeah, the "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch" song it is like in a different style than like how the original version was. Like this one is really like seemed like more like kind of like a rap kind of version of the song or a pop version or yeah it's in like another style than like how the original version was. As yeah as yeah and in this film like the Grinch like he's really not like absolutely like totally mean in this film. Like he doesn't really like do anything to really like to make the Who's like sad or anything. But yeah, and he's not really like totally mean in this version. Like yeah, though yeah, he still really does like really like not want to be with the Who's, and he really does like pull some hijinks on the Who's in the film. Like there's like a bit in the film where like the Grinch goes into Whoville to do some shopping, and then yeah, and then he just like pulls like some hijinks on some of the Who's and stuff. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and yeah, and another like similarity to the live action one is that like at one point like the Grinch does have a flashback showing like when he was really young, and like he spent his childhood like alone and unwanted in an orphanage, And this does like also kind of like play a factor as to why the Grinch acts the way that he does, which is like revealed like toward the end of the film. Yeah, yeah, and also like when the Grinch like does like actually like come up with the scheme to steal Christmas, like he does it kind of like in a different way than he did in the previous two. It does not like he just like makes like a Santa outfit and makes Max into a reindeer and stuff. Like he actually does like plan it all out on how he wants to do it, and he even like tries to get like an actual reindeer to help him out with it, and then yeah, then eventually yeah, the Grinch and Max end up like acquiring like a really big fat reindeer that the Grinch like ends up naming Fred. And yeah, the Grinch also like steals a sleigh from one of his neighbors, Mr. Bricklebaum. Yeah, and then yeah, the Grinch even like tries to like practice out how he was like planning to steal Christmas, and he like had like Fred pulling the sleigh. But then eventually, like it was revealed that Fred had a family, and the Grinch like set Fred free. And then yeah, and then eventually like the Grinch like then like made his own Santa outfit as well. And yeah, what I found interesting about like when the Grinch made a Santa outfit is he did it in kind of like the suit was like in a different form than it was like in the previous two, where like in the previous two the Grinch just made like a Santa Claus hat and a coat, and also like made like some red shoes for it. And this one, like he does make like the hat and the coat, but he also like even like tries to add more to it. Like rather than just those red shoes, he actually like is wearing like full Santa boots, and he even like made himself a Santa beard this time around. Yeah, so I thought that was an interesting addition that they made for this one. Yeah, yeah. And for Max, when like the Grinch made Max a reindeer, rather than just tying the horn on top of his head, like in the book and the other two adaptations, in this one he just gives Max a helmet with a reindeer horn, and it just puts the helmet on Max's head. So yeah, kind of like interesting that they decided to like kind of like change things up a little bit like that in the film. Yeah. And yeah, and then when the Grinch does go down to steal Christmas in Whoville, like rather than just like this like what he did in the previous two, where he just like goes into the houses and just like takes everything, he actually does like have some gadgets and mechanisms to help him like go around Whoville. Like he has like these like stilts that he uses, and he has like some grappling hooks and just some other gadgets that he has to help him out by taking Whoville away. It is kind of like similar to like in the Jim Carrey one, how like the Grinch did have like some mechanisms to help him out, like that big like a vacuum that he had that sucked up like the presents and decorations and everything. Yeah, so it is similar to that, but yeah, the Grinch does have like some more mechanical mechanisms in this one that he uses to help him get around Whoville. Yeah. Then yeah, and like I said earlier, like Cindy and like some of her friends were like yeah, had the plan to like capture Santa Claus that night, and then yeah, when the Grinch like paid a visit to the Luhu house, which interestingly enough, like unlike in the book and the other two adaptations, how it's the first house that the Grinch visits, in this version, it's actually the last house that he visits. Yeah, but then yeah, then after the Grinch like came down to the Luhu house. Yeah, he then like fell into like Cindy's trap of like capturing Santa Claus, and yeah, he like grabbed a cookie, but yeah, the cookie will had like a string tied to it, and it just like released like all these different like uh, uh yeah, all these like different sort of like things that she has attached to the strings to help capture Santa, and then eventually like like the Grinch ends up being captured, and Cindy who finds him, and then yeah, then she just like told the Grinch about the position with her mom, and she just wants Santa to help her mom. Yeah, yeah, and then yeah, and then after like all that, you like yeah, then like after the Grinch uh then stole every Christmas present and decoration and everything, like just like in the original story, like he then like was he planned to go up to Mount Crumpet to uh, uh like dump everything. Yeah, yeah. And another similarity that this film does have have in a sense, which is kind of like an homage to both like the previous versions, like kind of combining them. How like after like on Christmas morning, Cindy like realizes that like all the Christmas decorations are gone. She feels that she's responsible for like Christmas being stolen. But then yeah, her mother just then like told her that yeah, Christmas isn't centered around presents and Christmas can never be stolen, and that Cindy's the best thing that ever happened to her. So yeah, it is like similar to like how like the in the original how the Who's like just knew that what Christmas was really about and it didn't phase them at all. Oh, but while in the live action version, Cindy did kind of like feel that she was responsible, and yeah, and even like the mayor was like placing blame on her. But then yeah, her father stuck up for her and like just revealed what like talked about what Christmas was really about. Yeah, so yeah, this one did kind of like combine both of them like that to really kind of like even it out in a sense. Yeah, 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 and then yeah, then yeah, then of course like when the Grinch like saw the Who's like singing in the Welcome Christmas song they sung, and yeah, yeah, but then yeah, then the Grinch saw Cindy down with the Who's and saw like that and then he like was remembering her advice, and then yeah, then after like the Grinch like immersed himself in the singing, that was what like caused his heart to grow 3 sizes that day. But yeah, and another similarity that like this has is like as the Who's were singing, like they were forming like some rings like they formed in a circle, similar to like how it was in the live action one, how like the Who's were like forming like rings around the tree when they were singing. Yeah, yeah, but yeah, that's what caused the Grinch's heart to grow, and then yeah, and then as the sleigh was like falling off Crumpet, the Grinch was like trying to save it, but then yeah, then as like he was falling down, like Fred came to the aid and like helped pull like the Grinch and the sleigh back up. Yeah, and then yeah, the Grinch and Max like rode back down to Whoville, and yeah, they like returned everything, and yeah, yeah, and it was interesting how like just just like when the Grinch like brought everything back in this one, like it's not really like he just like gave everything back and he just like was now just like accepting of the Who's and just like he's like to stay down Whoville and the Who's like really accepted him. Like when the Grinch like gave everything back here, he still did like feel like some shame and guilt. So then he admitted to what he did and apologized to the Who's. But then rather than like the just like staying and like what happened in the previous two, like the Grinch would just like return back to his cave, and then later on that night, like Cindy Lou like came to the Grinch's cave and invited him to Christmas dinner. Yeah, and this was like when like they officially did meet. Yeah, it's not like in uh, the previous film, like in the live action one where like they met like early on in the film, and yeah, like Cindy just kept visiting the Grinch and talking to him throughout the film. Like they really didn't like officially meet until like toward the end of the film here. Yeah. But yeah, Cindy Lou like invited the Grinch and Max to Christmas dinner at her house, and yeah, the Grinch did attend, and yeah, he met like the family and everybody. But he and then yeah, and then yeah, when everybody sat down to dinner, like yeah, they asked the Grinch to carve the roast beast. But yeah, before the Grinch did that, like the Grinch like made a confession that really like his hatred wasn't really for Christmas, but that like what was why he was acting the way he was just from his like being alone and neglected. But yeah, now like he's happy that he has everybody around him and he accepted like the Who's friendship and enjoyed Christmas with them. Oh yeah, and yeah, I was talking about like the immature like and some humor that the film has. Yeah, there was like a gag in the film where like there was like this small goat like it was like it first happened like when the Grinch was like trying to find a reindeer, like he found like this like there was this small goat that came up to the Grinch and yeah like the goat like just like he let out like that scream, like that goat scream. Ah! Yeah. Yeah, there was like that goat scream gag throughout the film. Like it happened like a couple of times. I was like after like the Grinch like tried like to find a reindeer, and then yeah, then it ended like as it was like panning out from like the Lou Who house and out from Whoville, like you saw that goat again, and it let out that scream one more time before it cut the credits. So yeah, that was a funny gag. Yeah. So yeah, and that's pretty much the film right there. Yeah. So it really does like it does like some things similar to like the previous two films, but it also like does like it has quite a few differences, and yeah, and it really does like just like add a lot that wasn't in the original story to really like fill in like the time to really make it feature length. So yeah, so overall, like I said, I would say this is probably the worst of the three uh Grinch film adaptations, but overall, I mean, I still do like it. Like I said, it is probably like the one that really is most geared towards kids. So yeah, if you're like a grown adult, well, well, this probably isn't really like the film for you to just like watch by yourself. But yeah, if you have like a whole family, like if you got kids and you're just trying to find like some thing like for like if you got younger kids, if you're trying to find something to watch with them, yeah, this is a fine film for you to like watch as a family together. So yeah, so it really not really recommend it for like just adults on your own, but yeah, I would recommend it for like families and like kids. Like kids can watch this just fine. Like I really think that kids would enjoy it, but yeah, it's not really like meant for the adults really. Yeah. So yeah, but overall I do still like it. So overall, I think I'd probably give it around I probably would probably set around like 2.75 stars. Like it does have like its problems. Like I said, it is kind of like full of like like some juvenile humor to it, but yeah, you still do get like some laughs from it, and yeah, and overall, I do think that overall it's good. Like I said, it does kind of like find a balance between the tones that the previous two versions did have. So yeah, so overall, like it's not a terrible film. Like they did at least put effort into it. Like it's fine. It's just different from the other two. All right, but yeah, overall, I do still like I said, if you got a family, this would be a fine film to watch. I would recommend it for like families and kids. All right, so yeah, so I guess that's the best way I can put it. All right, so yeah, so I guess that's just my review of the 2018 version of The Grinch. So I hope you guys did enjoy this review, and and now we're coming up on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and yeah, since for the reviews I'm going to be making for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, the movies I'm going to review for my Christmas Eve and Christmas Day editions of these like Christmas reviews to conclude these reviews. These reviews are going to be for like two films that really like aren't really like as well known and kind of like different type of Christmas films than the ones that you would like immediately think of. But yeah, I've seen like Nostalgia Critic talk about like these two films, so I want to kind of like give these films a watch and just kind of like just give my 2 cents on them. But yeah, these are going to be kind of like some different type of Christmas films than the ones that people would like immediately think of. But yeah, stay tuned for those reviews coming for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day as I finish off these reviews, alright? But I hope you guys did enjoy this one, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.